At Standard Chartered Priority Banking, your priorities get their priority. Let's now hear from Brian Osiro, a priority banker. Take a listen.
I decided to bank with Standard Chartered way back in 2015 for several reasons. One, the rents in Nairobi are crazy. And so my wife and I decided that if we're going to live here and pay these crazy rents, we might as well just buy the house. So there's a bank that extended the mortgage to us before, but Standard Chartered acquired the mortgage from that bank. Now, when that happened, our monthly repayments dropped by approximately 100,000 Kenya shillings. It released some pain, it made it easier for us, to manage our monthly repayments. At the same time, Standard Chartered opened our eyes to different investment products, investment avenues. And when we put our money in these investments, we're able to earn an income that then repays the loan.
One of the key things that any individual would want is to have a home for them and their family as a first priority. So we do offer that, and the good news is now we're offering that at 11.9%. But over and above this, for any of our customers who may not need a mortgage, we have a very strong wealth proposition. And what the wealth proposition offers is that you're able to invest in Kenya and also internationally. So as we invest for any of our customers, we understand, do you want it for a short-term basis? Do you want it for a long-term basis? Do you want it after retirement? Do you want to keep it to pay your children's education? Whatever your need, we structure our wealth proposition on that. And that is why we say at Standard Chartered, our clients' priorities get our topmost priority.
You heard from Catherine Nyota there and her team. Standard Chartered Priority Banking, your priority gets their priority. Time for the bench. The awesome twosome are on the bench. The Grand Mullah, Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, Senior Counsel in the house, as is the man with the crystal ball, Professor Makau Mutua, all the way from Buffalo, New York. Remember the last time we spoke? It was about 2 months ago, and he was on Skype, and Grand Mullah was in the house, and he insisted when he comes to town, he wants a mano a mano. Here you go, bro. You've got your mano a mano. You ready?
That was because there was a conspiracy between the two of you. I mean, I was 10,000 miles away. My connection was bad.
Right.
And the two of you ganged up on me.
And your connection was bad because of what? You're in America.
I don't know what happened, man. I think maybe Grand Mullah was responsible for that. But today we're here. Okay. Now, who is responsible for Deputy President William Ruto not going to Uganda? Who is responsible for that? Grand Mullah, come on. Is this... what's the protocol here?
We have government here. Why don't you ask government?
What do you mean government? But first, let me ask your thoughts. What do you think it was?
Well, I mean, I think that those are, it's government acting small, This is government acting small. This is government acting very petty. I mean, what do you get from stopping someone traveling? I mean, what was the purpose? I mean, people are saying that the vice president is being humiliated, but I think, I don't think stopping the deputy president makes him humiliated. I think it is the person stopping the deputy president from traveling that looks very small in the eyes of Kenyans. Because, I mean, if someone wants to travel, I mean, why do you stop them?
Prof.
Well, I think my friend is practicing what is called avoidance. I think what we should do is to have a bird's eye view of what has happened to the relationship between Mr. Kenyatta and Mr. Ruto. That relationship has collapsed. Now, Ahmed knows.
But that's what you have been saying for the last 3 years.
We know that. That's not rocket science.
That's not new.
No. I'll tell you what's new.
Okay.
You know for a fact that the 2010 Constitution provides that the deputy president is the principal assistant to his boss.
That's true.
Okay? And as a lawyer, you know that those are not mere words on paper. They mean something. It means that you rent together, you're going to govern together, and that the number 2 person cannot countermand the number 1 person. Okay? Now, I'm not privy to what has happened, but you and I know, and I believe that Jeff might have some information about this, that something very dramatic happened at some point between these two gentlemen. You know, it is not possible for this kind of acrimony, this kind of sort of bad blood to exist between these two gentlemen. It is just not, unless something very dramatic happened. Okay, now Mr. Kenyatta said, as you know, at Bomas of Kenya, that he was willing to hand over power to Mr. Ruto. But then Mr. Ruto, you know, took the baton and started running backwards. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is that what you saw at the airport at Wilson was a symptom of a relationship that has collapsed, in which the number two individual in this country has countermanded his boss. And his boss has simply said that you cannot countermand me because I'm in charge. It's my presidency. So I think we should, in all honesty, Ahmed Nasser, we should look at that relationship from that point of view.
Okay, Graham Muller, look, a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, Deputy President was in Uganda. He met the Ugandan president. In fact, this time I think he was going to meet him again and, you know, launch some development projects. It was a private visit, apparently.
You know, Prof likes to go back to the history of the relationship between the president and the deputy because he revels in that. You know, he really enjoys that. I mean, that is his playground, and he really enjoys it. But that, I don't think what happened at the airport, was it Wilson first? Or
it was Wilson.
Jomo Kenyatta, has nothing to do with that relationship. It's simply, I mean, someone acting very small. And I don't think it's even the president really who stopped him. But whoever it was, you know, that is not, you know, it's not something worthy of government. Whether the deputy president wants to travel to Uganda or Tanzania or, I mean, he traveled to Zanzibar the other day, didn't he?
Yep.
And nothing, there was nothing wrong. He was there for, I think, a day or two. He came back. So if someone wants to travel, I mean, it was, I mean, what's the issue?
Well, I'll tell you what the issue is. First of all, a deputy president of a country cannot travel as a private citizen because at all times, 24/7, he is a deputy president of the country. Okay, number one, because he is a heartbeat away from the president. If something happens to the top guy, he has to step in immediately. Nor can he simply leave the country without informing his principal that he's leaving the country. Okay? Because they are literally joined at the hip. Now, in this particular case, Mr. Ruto has been making all these trips, as you know very well. And you also know, Ahmed Nasser, that Mr. Museveni is not Kenya's best friend. Mr. Museveni looks out for himself. The dalliance that is there between Mr. Museveni and Mr. Ruto should concern Kenyans, because Mr. Museveni does not wish Kenyans well.
Why should it concern Kenyans? In what way?
It should concern Kenyans because Mr. Museveni has, for the past several decades, interfered in the internal affairs of virtually every country in the region, sometimes trying to change their governments. We also know for a fact that he is an individual who is deeply, deeply anti-democratic. Okay? How long has he been ruling Uganda? Since 1986.
Through elections.
Okay. Which elections? Sham elections. Okay? If Mr. Ruto is to get lessons from Mr. Museveni, which as people said, that they were there to get lessons as to how NRM is run, we should be very concerned about that.
That's just a story.
No, but
it is not a story. You know, Mr. Sudi said it.
Prof is confusing Kenya with ODM. I mean, Museveni may have a problem with ODM or a party, but when it comes to Kenya, Uganda and Kenya have an excellent relationship. I mean, Uganda is the largest trading partner of Kenya for the last how many years, God knows.
By virtue of proximity, not by virtue of friendship. By virtue of
Tanzania and Somalia and Ethiopia are all neighbors, so the proximity doesn't arise. I mean, it just shows the relationship we have. So I think, you know, this is conspiracy theories, you know, people thrive in, especially Professor and his people. that, you know, the vice president and the Museveni are conspiring against someone. I mean, actually has no basis. It's just a conjecture. I mean,
so then, Ahmed, if in fact, as you allege, that I'm trafficking in conspiracy theories, then can you tell us what Mr. Ruto was going to do in Uganda and why he was actually stopped? Can you tell us?
But I told you,
because I understand it.
But I told you,
as I understand it, you're an insider in that cocoon.
No, but I told you, you are closer to government nowadays, so you know better. I mean, if you ask your principal why they stopped it, he will tell you.
No, but
okay. Let me ask you this, Prof. Let me ask you this: did the deputy president need his boss's permission to travel? Is that how it works with the civil service? Is that how it works? You need the okay from the president.
First, the deputy president is not civil servant. I mean, he's not in the public service. I mean, as Prof rightly said that he's the deputy principal to the president.
No. The deputy president is an officer of the state.
Yes, but not a civil servant.
Okay, he's an officer of the state.
Okay.
As an officer of the state and as a principal assistant to the president, you should inform your principal and seek his permission before you go to another country.
But nobody actually, I mean, it has not come out to say that, you know, he has not sought the permission of the president. Nobody knows. I mean, that's not something anybody is privy to. What we know is that he was not given a go-ahead to fly out.
Yeah, because he didn't have an ID or a birth certificate. I mean,
or even vaccination.
And isn't that also isn't that a conspiracy theory? That he was stopped because he didn't have an ID or vaccination certificate?
But that's what we are hearing.
That's
we don't know.
We're hearing.
I mean, there's no official statement from the Kenyan government.
There's no official statement. And that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking you to read the context in which this relationship has collapsed. Otherwise, you're going to be in the weeds. Okay. As you are in the weeds.
Okay. Since you're in the know, you're the one in the know. So tell us, what was he?
I'm not saying I'm in the know.
What was he going to Uganda to do?
I have no idea, but I can only surmise that Mr. Ruto believes that he needs the support of some surrounding countries in his quest for the presidency.
But that's natural.
I can only surmise that, and I can only surmise that he was going there to either to marshal resources for his campaign or to seek political support. That's what I can surmise.
But that's natural. Okay? It is natural for any serious presidential candidate in a country like Kenya to have a good relationship with the neighboring countries.
But
especially Uganda and Tanzania.
But if a vice president of a country, deputy president of a country, is going to seek the support of a neighboring head of state, okay, that's a state act. That's a state act.
Prof, he was there 2 weeks ago. He was in Uganda. There were pictures 2 weeks ago.
Yes. So
what are you saying? I mean, what's the
fact that
deal?
but the fact that he was not stopped before does not mean that he cannot be stopped later. Perhaps there are facts that are not in the public domain that we do not know why he was stopped.
I think the important thing we need to know is who stopped the deputy president from traveling. Rather than why was he going there, what was he going to do. I think those are secondary issues. The primary issue is
but I can assure you, Ahmed, I can assure you that if the relationship between Mr. Kenyatta and Mr. Ruto was hanky-dory, there will be no problem. I can assure you of that.
Okay, which begs the question, is it over now? I mean, we've been talking about this marriage being over for the longest time.
Yes.
Is it O-V-E-R? Is it over?
Well, I think if you have two eyes, and you can see, and you can read, and you can think, then you'd be a fool not to conclude that this relationship has been over for a long time. I was telling these guys, Ahmed Nasser, Senator Murkomen, and their ilk on that side of the political divide. No, wait a minute.
Is it a relationship?
No, I've been telling you that for a long time.
I think that's a wrong choice of word. Is it a relationship?
For the longest time, Ahmed Nasser, you guys said no.
But
the relationship is not over. Okay? I think now even they admit it's over. Don't you? Don't you?
No, but I mean...
No, come on, ask the question. Don't you admit it's over?
I don't agree with you on the choice of what... It's not a relationship, you know, because you make it very personal. It's a constitutional union between a deputy president and a vice and his president.
Yeah, but that's not the point,
Yes,
Grand Mullah. Is it over? Just to answer the
Thank
question.
you. Thank you, Jeff.
It's over, I think so.
Huh?
Yes. I mean, we are not blind to the reality. Everybody sees that they don't have, I mean, there's no chemistry, there's no working relationship. The two offices are not in sync anymore.
Yeah, so the follow-up question I would ask him is, why is it over?
Why?
Yeah. Why is it over, Grand Mullah?
You mean what made it to come to that? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I mean, why don't you ask the principals?
No, I'm asking you.
We can only speculate. The guys who can answer is the deputy president and the president himself.
But Grand Mullah, we came here because you and I, shoot straight. Okay, we shoot straight.
Yes, but
okay, and that's why Jeff has us here. So I want you to shoot straight and tell us why you think. I'm not saying that you tell us, with 100% certainty, but why you think the relationship came to an end.
No, but you have said it yourself so many times. You said Raila has come in between, isn't it?
And I didn't say that.
You said the handshake changed everything.
Yes.
No, I said the handshake. I said the handshake.
You even wrote a lot of articles on this.
No, man. I said the handshake took place to put the country back, or to snatch it back from the brink of collapse, after the swearing in of Mr. Kenyatta and the swearing in of Mr. Odinga. That was the purpose of the handshake. It was a reaction of Mr. Ruto and his brigade to the handshake that precipitated this collapse of the relationship.
Let me go back to the...
I think, you are so propagandist when you describe the handshake in those words. I mean, the handshake was simply an exercise on the part of Raila to sit in the shade of power. That was all. Yes.
Okay, guys, I'm not done with Uganda yet. The deputy president going to visit the president of a neighboring country without informing his boss, the president. Don't you think that's outright disrespect?
Well, I would say, Jeff, that it is not only disrespect, but it's really a breach of state security. Because our assumption is that Mr. Ruto, although he's estranged from the center of power, still knows a lot of things about state secrets and other state functions. And so when he goes out to visit another head of state, typically he should be sent by his boss. And if he's going on a mission of his own, he should seek the permission of his boss and tell his boss, I'm going to do this X, Y, Z, and what I'm going to do does not contradict our policy towards Uganda and does not pose any state security. This is protocol 101 in every state, in every country in the world.
But also, you are making an assumption. You said that he was going to visit the president of Uganda. Where do you get this? Because the little we know about this is that he said it was a private visit. I mean, nobody has told us that he was going to visit the president of Uganda.
Okay, let's assume, because a couple of weeks ago he did visit the president of Uganda.
Yes.
Right?
So we make another assumption that he was going for a second trip.
Let's say.
We make assumption
is that disrespect, senior counsel? Is that disrespect, going without telling your boss?
What's disrespectful about seeing another president? I mean, we are so apologetic to power that every time something happens, we say that, oh, the president has been disrespected. Let the president complain himself and say that I'm being disrespected. But when every Tom, Dick, and Harry, when every person says that if you do such and such things, you are disrespecting the president. The president is not a temple or a mosque or a church.
Indeed, he is not. But he is a head of state with responsibilities of governing the state with the assistance of the deputy president. My concern is not whether the president is a temple or a mosque. Of course, he is not. My concern is that learned counsel here is unable, blinded by his loyalty to Mr. Ruto, to call them as he sees them. Come on, man.
No.
You speak up. Say something. Let me hear you.
Go on, Grand Mullah. He's asking you a question.
No, what do I answer? He hasn't asked me a question. He's assuming I'm loyal to someone. I haven't said I'm loyal to anybody. Not to anybody. Yes.
Do you really have to say it, Grand Mullah?
I'm saying it now that I'm not loyal to anybody other than myself.
Okay, tell me something. What is the impact of the bad blood between the two? And what happened? I mean, Deputy President
you know, 3 years ago, that was news. It's no longer news. I mean, it was news 4 years ago that the President and the Deputy President's relationship have broken down. They are not working together. That is the news of 2018, 2019. I mean, we are in 2021. Everybody has moved on. The President has moved on. The country has moved on. The Deputy President has moved on. So that is a stale story. I mean, it only excites Prof and his group.
No, the country has not moved on.
Yes, we have moved on.
If the country,
you don't live here, so you can't know. But we have moved on.
No, Grand Mullah. If the country had moved on, we would not all be talking about what happened at Wilson Airport. It has not moved on. And I'll tell you why it has not moved on. Because what happened at Wilson Airport has serious implications. It's one symptom of what is going to affect the forthcoming elections in 2022.
No, I think that's been far-fetched.
No, it is not.
How will an aeroplane that did not fly at Wilson have an impact on the election of 2022?
I'm not talking about...
Prof is too imaginative.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
So there's a correlation between the aircrafts that take off and the election?
No. I'm not saying that, and you are too bright to say that. What I'm saying that that's a data point or the kinds of things that are going to affect the forthcoming elections. Because of what? Because it shows that the relationship between the president and his deputy has collapsed. It shows that when Mr. Ruto tries to gun for the presidency, he will not have the support of his boss. Okay? In this country, as you know very well, Grand Mullah, as you know very well, you only win the presidency under 3 circumstances. Number 1, either you cheat and cheat massively. Number 2, you have the support of the state, which helps you cheat. And number 3, you create a tidal wave, a tsunami that cannot be stopped.
No,
okay?
You are wrong on all those. You know,
why am I wrong on all those?
These are wild hypotheses.
Why am I wrong on those?
That have no basis in reality or empirical data.
Argue your point. Argue your point.
The state, which you are relying on to hand your principal power in 2022,
which principle?
It doesn't act like that.
Which principle?
Elections are won in Kenya, and I voted in every election by voters. If you have the numbers, you win. And every candidate that wins in Kenya always garners the largest number of votes, whether it's an MCA in Mandera or the president in this country.
So who won?
Stop this hallucination.
Grand Mullah, who won?
That the deep state or the president is the one who decides who becomes president. It's not true.
You're using a big word, hallucination.
It's not true. It's not true.
So who won in 2007?
Exactly.
I mean, go and ask IEPC. They declared someone to be the winner.
No.
But
no.
You see, you know.
No, Grand Mullah.
Let us be realistic. If we want debate because we have our own views, an alternative reality, we will not go far. But the reality is there. We know how elections are won. I mean, elections are not easy in this country. It has a lot of challenges. But I can tell you that elections are won by the candidate who gets the largest number of votes. 50+1 is normally the formula.
Grand Mullah, let me tell you something, and you know more than you are willing to admit before the Kenyan public. Look them in the eye, the Kenyan public, because you're not idiots. Look them in the eye and tell them that you know for a fact that Kibaki stole the election from Mr. Odinga. Mr. Kibaki stole the election from Mr. Odinga in 2007. Look them in the eye and tell them that. Okay? Look them in the eye, and there are reports upon reports upon reports. Even the principals themselves admitted that they stole the elections in 2007. They admitted this fact.
You know, in the Kregler report says there is no certainty who won. That's what it says. Yes, and it says that both sides stole massively. Yes. Yeah. That's what it says. And
so back to your hypothesis, if both sides stole massively,
but you know, since
how are elections then won by voters? How are elections then won by voters?
No, Prof, listen to me. Since 2007, we have made huge strides in electoral management, electoral transparency, and electoral integrity. Yes.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
You believe that the IBC...
Not I believe, I believed it. I know it.
You believe that the IBC conducted credible, free and fair elections in 2013 and 2017?
Absolutely, because I voted, I participated, I was a lawyer for many parties.
You in the courts?
We did a lot of election petitions, right from Mandera North to Embu to everywhere. We opened all the ballot boxes. An election in this country is credible. If you are relying, and I'm telling Kenyans, if there are candidates who are relying that 2022 the deep state or Master X or someone will hand over power to them, they are daydreaming and they will be disappointed, and after the result is declared, they will go to the street again and demonstrate.
So if
because power was not handed to them. Elections in Kenya are won primarily by the candidate who gets the largest number of votes.
Okay, so, okay, let me ask you this,
Prof,
gentlemen.
Organize your votes. Prof.
Yeah, no.
Organize your votes.
Let me tell you something. So, and I'm going to hold you to this.
Absolutely, hold me.
Okay? Because not a single sane, credible analyst believes that votes cast by voters in Kenya determine elections. Not at the presidential level. Maybe at the lower levels, that may be correct. Not at the presidential level. But let me say this to you. I'm going to hold you to your words. Okay? Your candidate has been running alone. Okay? And he's ahead right now. Running alone. Just like the way Eliud Kipchoge was running alone. Running against the wind. When you run alone, you cannot win because you are running against yourself. When your candidate gets real competition, a declared candidate, and they run in the race for the presidency, and your candidate loses, Grand Mullah, I do not want to hear you or him say that the election was stolen.
No, Prof, listen to me very carefully. Elections in this country primarily are tribal-based. It's always coalitions of tribes running against each other. When the election is declared and we know which communities are on which side, I do it myself every year. I do it. You can easily predict how the election will go.
No way.
No, I've done it.
No way.
And it is very easy.
No way.
That when you know that election is 6 months or 4 months, and you know who are the presidential candidates who are the running mates, and then you can analyze their tribal blocks and the votes where they come from. It's so easy to know. And the problem with Kenya is that candidates who have no chance of winning claim to have been rigged every time. When we know the reality is that 6 months to the elections, they couldn't win because they don't have the tribal numbers to win.
No, I think...
Okay, all right, let me ask you
another question.
We're kind of deviating here, but you know, you make some good points.
Yes.
The president obviously seems fed up with his deputy. He seems fed up.
That's an understatement.
What are his options, Prof?
Options for what?
What does he do with his deputy? What does he do going forward?
Well, I think, I don't know whether you've ever run a dysfunctional relationship or whether you've been in a dysfunctional relationship.
Tell us.
A relationship between a superior and a subordinate, with a subordinate who is dysfunctional. I think you try to manage that relationship as best as you can. But in this particular case, I think what Mr. Kenyatta is trying to do, and he knows it very well, is to pull the rug from under his deputy. And he has done it openly. We all know this. The Wilson Airport was just another one of those examples. The question for me really is, you know, what more is going to be done by the state to disable, to hobble, to neuter, and to neutralize Mr. Ruto. Personally, I do not see a path forward for him within the state. I don't see it. You know, and because I do not think that in this country you can win elections without the state. I just don't think so. If you're going to win the elections without the state, you must create such a tidal wave that no one can stop it. Okay, and I don't see really Mr. Ruto doing that, because tidal waves are created by individuals who are morally upright, and Mr. Ruto is anything but morally upright. He stinks of scandal. He is surrounded by individuals who stink of scandal. And the Grand Mullah knows that we can list the scandals all the way from here to Nairobi to Kitui, the scandals that follow Mr. Ruto, or perhaps all the way from here to Nandi, because that's where he comes from. So I don't see that happening. And my own concern, you know, because I'm very worried about this country next year. My own concern is a situation in which Mr. Ruto does not win the election, and he claims that he was rigged out, and there's violence.
You heard Grand Mullah say there, you know, the winner will be the winner.
You know, first, you know, Prof analyzes the relationship between the president and his deputy in the abstract. But you need, you know, a historic context. I mean, if you look at the president and the deputy president in this country, they never had a good relationship. I mean, look at the history of this country. Every president treats his deputy very badly. And every president doesn't like his deputy to take over from him. I mean, our history is written that way. So there is nothing usual in the relationship between the deputy president and the president, because that is what always happens. Yes. So that's the norm in this country.
So what happens between now and a year from now? They just hang in there together? They just tolerate each other? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes. Unlike the, you know, in the past, when they had a bad relationship like this, the constitution used to allow the president to fire his deputy. But now he can't. They're joined in the hip because they have been elected together. Mm-hmm. And the constitution is very clear, as Prof rightly said, that Ruto is the deputy principal to the president. That's what the constitution says. Mm. Yes.
Yeah, but you know, if Mr.
So
Ruto,
it's not, you know, it's not like a personal entitlement or it's personal favor the president is doing his deputy.
They're joined at the hip.
The constitution says that the deputy president is the principal assistant to the president.
But the expectation of that constitution and the intent of the framers of the constitution in making it impossible for the president to fire the deputy president, the intent of the framers, and you know this as a lawyer, was that there will be a working relationship between the two, and that the deputy president will subordinate himself or herself to the deputy president.
I agree with you 100%, but the spirit of that constitution also implied that there will not be a third party who has no mandate of the people will come in between and enjoy executive power through assignment, inter vivo transfer, what we call in law.
I don't understand.
So therein lies the dilemma, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
No, but this is a yarn. This is a yarn that these people on the Tanga side of the political divide, if that still exists, have weaved or woven a yarn that there was a third party that came from somewhere to disrupt the relationship.
Actually, if we apply the constitution strictly,
no, these are not children.
If we apply or interpret the constitution strictly, the president and his deputy can have a personal relationship that has gone sour, but can work together because the constitution defines their roles.
But you know,
and that is not happening because, as Prof knows, there is a third party who has no mandate from the people. Who is now exercising executive authority.
If there's trouble in one's marriage,
there's always a third party.
They should not be blaming a third party. They should blame each other.
I think Prof has given an excellent analogy. Yeah? When there's a problem in a relationship,
Don't blame a third party.
there's a third party.
There's a third party.
Yes.
Someone is, yeah. All right, gentlemen, let's take a quick break, come back and talk about NASA. Is NASA all but dead? Is it dead in the water?
I'm told the agreements that led to the dissolution was drafted by Prof. So he can tell us better.
Oh, well, we have the experts.
There are laws of defamation.
Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLIVE, the Grand Mullah and the man with the crystal ball. Right here, live. We'll be back in a moment.